All right, before we even start over the podcast, let's go over the Sacramento Kings' new uniforms. I kind of like them. A bit old schooly. They did try the baseball little scripted design before. Looks authentic enough. Over the simplistic, bulky, singular design. Out of majority of the new uniforms I've seen out of the NBA, out of the Utah Jazz uniforms that look like a college uniform, and of course we got the Cleveland Cavaliers that both debuted over the 2022-2023 season. The best new uniform I've seen recently. I think out of everything that's happening involving the Kings trying to get out of the culture of losing and just missing out of the playoffs to now making the playoffs and closing up a huge Game 7 and making it known like they want to make a new change and being consistent, competitive contenders and possibly future title holders. Positive. Good work. The rest with the show. Okay. So today's topic here on the channel, we are going over Paul George's literally basic fuck off from the New York Knicks post around possibly being a potential trade option out of the Los Angeles Clippers, knowing that that's been a failed dynasty. We, of course, have trade news involving Grant Williams from the Boston Celtics, one of the bigger rotational players that was notable for getting into a little verbal scuffle with Jimmy Butler, then drop 30 on his head, and then lose his 7 games after having a 3-0 lead to start the series. So Grant Williams is off in a 3-way trade over to the Dallas Mavericks to play for the to help with their depth and defensive rotation, knowing that they just re-signed Kyrie Irving. The Boston Celtics received 3 second-round picks up to 2025 to 2029. No, I think 2026 to 2029. And then we have the San Antonio Spurs that will receive at least a rotational player, unlike the Celtics that just get draft compensation for after the whole Kristaps Porzingis, that I think they sacrificed 7 first-round picks to even get him, and no second-round picks. And they received Reggie Bullock from the Dallas Mavericks. I wouldn't say there was a particular win. The Celtics perceived their future. We know that the Spurs would actually build around Victor Wembanyama with some perceivable, potential pieces like an experienced 3-and-D shooter like Reggie Bullock. That's been quite a journeyman over the past couple of years. Grant Williams has been perceived to possibly be carried off the Celtics system. And that's another rotational player that's been whether you like him or not, been an impactful player whenever he gets hot. So hopefully the Mavericks can use him in their system. I still feel like Jason Kidd isn't the best head coach. Marvin Williams should have been a major option after he just got sacked from the Phoenix Suns, in my opinion. But that's what it is. My opinion. Paul George getting sacked was possibly one of the most unpredictable notions to happen over this offseason, knowing his draft trade stock has been quite off the wazoo after rumors literally Damian Lillard heading over to either the Sixers, Utah Jazz, or the New York Knicks, Miami Heat, possibly Kyle Lowry and Tyler Hero, and 6 first-round picks to get him, or Emmanuel Quickly, R.J. Barrett, to help with their depth issues so they can have a young core to build around, because we know after getting Scoot Henderson, another good first-round pick, the Blazers are obviously trying to build around the future. You can see around it's not called the Arco Arena, or I think it's called the Echo Arena. They're trying to build around a younger future and get out of the Damian era, knowing that the Blazers have failed to build around him, and Dame has all the rights in the world to leave. And we can see over from the New York Post any possibility of the Knicks, as it stands, considered off the table for the Los Angeles Clippers. Star made it known that he wants a contract extension, according to MSG analyst and ESPN New York Alan Hahn. Also during Monday's edition of Barton Hahn, the Knicks said it was too expensive, and the whole thing worked after hearing the Clippers asking the price desired by for extension. George is eligible for a contract extension worth a max of 220 years $220 million for 4 years. If Paul George isn't extended, he'll be able to decline a player option for the 2024-25 season and test the waters of free agency. Los Angeles Times reported last month in the NBA draft the Knicks and Clippers discussed potential trade for Paul George for the New York. Yes, that's true. And it's been New York with the innate, you know, talks for getting Paul George to wear a Knicks jersey. But over his two injuries he had around the postseason, and just underperformance after just losing Obi Toppin, the Pacers, I feel like, are going to be a potential playoff team after getting Obi. You need playmakers and good shot creators like Buddy Hield and people like Obi Toppin. I don't know how much you're still going to make Miles Turner a potential trade threat, or if he doesn't produce like he did years before. And I understand Paul George still wants to potentially go over a big market, knowing like chemistry issues has been a thing. If he's stuck in LA still until his player option for next season erodes, so he for like what, the next 2 seasons, over $220 million overextension that I know damn well the Clippers are just better off just letting him walk, or they'll just reconsider the player option and trade him off after signing possibly Kawhi Leonard, that I still feel like still has higher trade stock than Paul George, that hasn't really played a over 50 game season since I think his first or second stint over in the Clippers. So why take that risk? And New York was just too risque over already overall better season with a more younger, exciting wing to build around like Julius Randle. As much as we want to give him credit, we know he's not better than Paul George, but overall he's just a better value than Paul George and a lot cheaper. So is Jalen Brunson. We can keep over in the rotation. Isaiah Hartenstein, I don't mind letting walk. If that's the case, if there's still going to be any trade rumors involving the Knicks getting Damian Lillard. But I don't feel like we should keep that momentum with Brunson and Randall and possibly build around and see if RJ can still develop, because we know he's not an all-NBA player. But if he can be a serviceable starter that can average around at least 17 to 18 points per game and just pick up some game winners for us, I'm satisfied with RJ Barrett's production. As impatient as this New York media, especially the Knicks fans, are considered, RJ Barrett is not worse than the last several first-round picks that the Knicks have acquired over the past couple of years. I'm not going to lie. I think people are blowing over proportion that RJ is a bust. You're a caliber starter over in a big market team that made the playoffs, where you making the third highest scoring percentage over on the team. What part of that considers you a bust all because you're not averaging as much as Zion or John Morant? All because you weren't a third-round pick. Get your head out your ass. You know how difficult it is to even average around 10 points in the NBA level? And RJ, whenever he can turn it on, can drop around 25 points. He is the at least second or third scoring option that the Knicks should be concerned about, all because he plays a certain position. Especially with now Quentin Grimes, the good outside shooter that's now developing into a starter. You got Dante DiVincenzo that put up some great work over in the Golden State Warriors, that came out of a minimum contract player, and now he's coming in over a $50 million contract, playing over in a big market team that just came out of the second round of the close game against the Miami Heat that just made the finals. I feel like the Knicks are doing a hot start. Sure, I'll miss Obi Toppin. I hope he does well in Indiana. But besides that, I think we're blowing over our trade rumors over a high proportion, all because you guys want to blow over like how Brooklyn did when they made it out of the first round. They needed to build around their depth, possibly do something with D'Lo. They still wanted to carry over this franchise. No! They went over the max route after they wanted to get rid of the D'Lo contract, and then they want to build over and make their own Lakers or Clippers ripoff equivalent over a super team. And they wasted 3 NBA All-Star careers in the matter of a 2 year trade span that got Ben Simmons, Cam Thomas, and now it's a trade rumor for him to Dame to even end up in Brooklyn for possibly Cam Thomas, I think not Dorian Finney-Smith, but Royce O'Neal, and trade like potential future after literally just finding the bare minimum to trade away Kyrie and Kevin Durant to even get potential future back to actually build over for the long term. And I'm saying this for the Nets' sake. Build around your youth. You're making sacrificial lambs, and you guys had two super teams in under a decade and only one conference finals appearance. Learn how to stay patient and build around your franchise. You're already a big market team, but you actually build around and actually get contracts for stars to actually complement over your young role pieces. You could actually build over a contender. How do you think the Celtics played around the Sacramento Kings and the 76ers? They played around the strengths, took the guys that were going to get them to the next level, and built around them with bigger stars. They still had a good overall depth after the Isaiah Thomas trade. And they're still reaping the benefits with Jason Tatum becoming an All-NBA player. And Jaylen Brown possibly making over $300 million. And they just picked up Kristaps Porzingis, that I have second doubts at, but I feel like we just always this money game scheme where we want to build around a franchise and make this franchise mode notion that you have to build around two NBA MVPs to always try to make an equivalent stunt into an NBA title when that's obviously not true. There was only one All-Star, I think three combined All-Stars over in the NBA Finals. Two-time league MVP in one of them, and one of the NBA teams coming out of it that won a title only had one league MVP. And one of the minimal All-Stars only made it under 5 times, and that was Chris Middleton. And I'm talking about the Milwaukee Bucks. So you can make a good above-average team that can be top seed, and you don't have to be making these moneyball decisions like you're the Oakland Athletics. And you see what happened to them when they always try to risk for the bag and always try to rely over on the cap or always try to risk it like trying to get a grain for a spice type garbage, trying to just always try to build for contenders when the time arrives. And you see how that costs certain franchises, like the Nets, that I actually liked a bit better when they had D'Angelo Russell, Jared Dudley, Joe Harris, and you let Yuta Watanabe walk to be a good rotational player for the Phoenix Suns, and I feel like Kevin Durant was impressed off him to begin with to even consider the Suns. So that's basically all I have for right now over on the channel. Tell me how you guys feel down below. That's it for me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.